Welcome to the New Hire series. By the end of this training module, you'll walk away with key insights about the heart and history of Best Buddies. Here's what you can expect. You'll learn about our founder and CEO, Anthony Kennedy Shriver, known to most of us as AKS. We'll explore what inspired him to create Best Buddies and how it all began at Georgetown University. We will explore the Shriver family's powerful legacy of inclusion, with a focus on Anthony's Aunt Rosemary, whose life deeply influenced the mission of Best Buddies. You will gain a broader understanding of the roles his parents, Eunice and Sargent, played in championing acceptance and opportunity for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Throughout the module, you'll also watch short videos. Let's get started. Let's talk about the incredible person behind Best Buddies. Anthony Kennedy Shriver, or AKS for short, was born into a family deeply rooted in public service and advocacy. Anthony was surrounded by powerful examples of compassion, leadership, and commitment to inclusion from an early age. Back in 1987, AKS had a big idea. While studying at Georgetown University, he realized something powerful. College students had a huge potential to make a difference. So he matched 52 of his classmates with individuals who had intellectual and developmental disabilities from the nearby Kennedy Institute. And what happened next was magic. These new friends rode the bus together, went to the movies, helped each other with homework, and got involved in their communities, basically doing all the things friends do. Through these shared experiences, they discovered just how much they had in common. This simple yet powerful idea of friendship built on understanding sparked a global movement, and in 1989, Best Buddies was born. Now let's hear from AKS himself as he shares how and why he started this amazing journey.
You were a student at Georgetown.
Lucky me, right? You're aging me big time.
So what gave you the heart for this?
I love being around people with special needs. I love helping. I love giving back. It makes you feel so wonderful. I mean, when you're with your buddy, how wonderful it makes you feel. And I think if you can be a support system for someone and they realize their full potential because of a little contribution you make in their life, I mean, what a gift to be able to do that and to serve. And I wanted to do it when I was a young kid, and, I learned it from my mom. She served her Aunt Rosemary Kennedy, who was an inspiration to all of us in my family. And so many people in my family are about service. And once you start serving, it's hard not to be addicted and stay with it for a lifetime.
As Anthony shared, his family's lifelong commitment to serving the IDD community was deeply inspired by his Aunt Rosemary. Her life and legacy were pivotal in the founding of Best Buddies. As a member of the Best Buddies team, you'll play a meaningful role in keeping Rosemary's memory alive. Each year on her birthday, we honor her with a special day of reflection, recognizing the contributions of staff and supporters who continue her legacy through our Team Rosemary Giving campaign. To learn more about Team Rosemary and how you can get involved, visit the resource page linked at the end of this module. Before we introduce the rest of Anthony's family, many of whom played key roles in founding Best Buddies and championing IDD advocacy across the United States, let's take a look at the Kennedy Shriver family trees to see where it all began. The Kennedy family is widely known for their deep commitment to public service and their dedication to our country. President John F. Kennedy, also known as Jack to his friends and family and JFK to the world, made history as the first head of state to welcome a person with an intellectual disability to the White House, a powerful moment that began to shift public perception and spark important conversations about inclusion. His sister, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, played a pivotal role in advancing this movement, and that legacy continues to evolve through the work of many other Kennedy Shriver family members. Inspired by Rosemary Kennedy, whose life profoundly influenced the family's dedication to disability rights, each member has made meaningful contributions, both within the disability community and beyond. To learn more about the Kennedy legacy, click on the QR code or check out our resource page referenced at the end of this module. The Kennedy Shriver family, led by two extraordinary changemakers, Eunice and Sargent Shriver, set the stage for a powerful legacy of advocacy. They passed down a deep passion for service, justice, and inclusion to their children who continue to make an impact in their own inspiring ways. Today, the first-generation Kennedy Shrivers carry the torch in diverse and meaningful directions. Bobby Shriver, the oldest, has been a passionate advocate for public health and global justice. He co-founded RED, the organization that partners with major brands to fight AIDS in Africa. Tim Shriver followed closely in his mother's footsteps. As chairman of Special Olympics, he continues to elevate the movement she started, keeping it one of the most recognized and respected organizations for people with IDD. Mark Shriver has made his mark in children's advocacy, serving as president of the Save the Children Action Network and working to improve the lives of children through education and policy change. Maria Shriver, a journalist, author, and former First Lady of California, uses her platform to champion women's empowerment, Alzheimer's awareness, and social justice through her Sunday paper and nonprofit work. And finally, Anthony Shriver, our very own founder and CEO, took the family legacy of inclusion and ran with it, founding Best Buddies and growing it into a global movement for friendship, leadership, integrated employment, inclusive living, and family support for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Each of them is blazing their own trail, but all with the same spark that started with Eunice and Sargent. Up next, you'll hear AKS's siblings reflect on their mother's incredible legacy and how their Aunt Rosemary helped shape a family-wide commitment to inclusion. Disclaimer: the upcoming segment contains historical footage and discussions of institutionalization and mistreatment of individuals with disabilities, which may be upsetting or difficult to watch. Please take care while viewing.
Rosemary and dedicated her life to giving Rosemary the chance in the world that she may never have had otherwise.
To change the worldview of people with intellectual disabilities, Eunice needed a vehicle.
One mother called her and said, you know, there's no camp for my child. And it was at that point that my mother hung up the phone and said, well, yes, there is. The camp's going to be at my house.
And in 1962, at her home in Maryland, Camp Shriver was born.
Her philosophy was that people with intellectual disabilities were as good at sports as anybody else. And when people said that's not true, she said, you know, I'll prove it.
She grew up in a family that loved sports, and I think she saw that through sports you can change the world.
There were 100 volunteers who would come to our house every day, and then there were 100 people with intellectual disabilities who would come.
They were playing in the backyard. They were swimming in a pool. We were running races against them. They're always part of the family.
It was clear that these camps were having an enormous positive effect. So she decided to use the Kennedy Foundation to fund other camps.
For all of the success of Camp Shriver, the public narrative of the Kennedy family continued to exclude Rosemary. So Eunice changed that with an article in the Saturday Evening Post.
On the cover of one of the most widely read magazines in America, she announces that, yes, the President of the United States has a sister he loves who has an intellectual disability. Now let's open the door. Let's all come out.
With inclusion now out in the open, camps across the country continued to flourish. Eunice and her colleagues realized they could expand this well beyond the yard or even the state. And in 1968, at Soldier Field in Chicago, Eunice inaugurated the first Special Olympics.
In ancient Rome, the gladiators went into the arena with these words on their lips: "Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt."
Rosemary Kennedy was born at a time when people with intellectual disabilities were hidden away. But a sister's love would shine a light on this social exclusion and show us all what an extraordinary place our world can be when we choose to include.
The late Eunice Kennedy Shriver, sister of President John F. Kennedy and mother of Anthony Kennedy Shriver, was a trailblazing advocate for people with intellectual disabilities and a founding board member of Best Buddies. Here are 5 things about her that made her one of a kind. She was a devoted sister to Rosemary, whose life with IDD deeply influenced Eunice's purpose and passion. She refused to play a passive role expected of women in her family. She was a relentless leader, and her brothers followed. She transformed her father's competitive drive into a mission for inclusion by creating the Special Olympics. She supported women's rights and stood firm in her personal beliefs, even when they didn't align with popular opinions. Anthony's father, Robert Sargent Shriver, left an extraordinary legacy of global impact and public service. He was the founding director of the Peace Corps under President Kennedy, helping to establish a lasting program that promotes peace and friendship across the globe. As director of the Office of Economic Opportunity, he spearheaded key initiatives in President Johnson's War on Poverty, including Head Start, Volunteers in Service to America, or VISTA for short, Job Corps, Legal Services for the Poor, and the Foster Grandparents Program, many of which still operate today. Sargent Shriver also served as the U.S. Ambassador to France from 1968 to 1970. He was the Democratic vice presidential nominee in 1972, running alongside George McGovern after Thomas Eagleton withdrew. Then, in 1976, he launched a brief presidential campaign. However, his bid was unsuccessful, and he did not secure the Democratic nomination. Outside of politics, Sargent was a passionate advocate for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. He served as president and later chairman of the board for Special Olympics, the movement founded by his wife Eunice. He was also a longtime supporter and a founding board member of Best Buddies, continuing the family's legacy of inclusion and service. Now let's watch a short video highlighting Sargent Shriver, a good man who left behind an indelible mark on the world through his unwavering commitment to service, justice, and inclusion.
Sargent Shriver was never elected to public office, but few Americans could match his life dedicated to public service.
I have today signed an executive order providing for the establishment of a Peace Corps.
In 1961, President Kennedy asked Shriver to lead the Peace Corps, a volunteer army of young people sent to work in developing countries.
They've got to have an internal motivation. They have to have an internal conviction.
In 50 years, more than 200,000 Americans have served in 100 different countries. It is Shriver's lasting legacy. Born in Maryland in 1915, Shriver worked his way through Yale University and then Yale Law School. He enlisted in the Navy during World War II and fought in the Battle of Guadalcanal. He married Eunice Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's sister, in 1953. The Shrivers settled in Chicago and had 5 children, including broadcaster Maria Shriver.
The programs he created from the Peace Corps, Head Start, Job Corps, VISTA, they are still affecting millions of people today.
After the assassination of President Kennedy, Shriver surprised many by going to work for President Lyndon Johnson, for whom he led the War on Poverty. It was a time when the country was torn by the issues of Vietnam and race.
We only have one war. We have a war for the freedom of people and for opportunity for all people, regardless of race, color, or creed.
Thank you very much. In 1972, Shriver did run for office as the vice presidential candidate and running mate of George McGovern. He made his own bid to become the Democratic presidential nominee in 1976 and embraced the Kennedy family tradition.
The cure will come from honest, truthful leadership that summons the best in us, as we remember John Kennedy once did.
In subsequent years, he worked with his wife Eunice to expand the Special Olympics.
I believe in change.
Eunice died in 2009.
Sargent Shriver.
In 1994, he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, from President Bill Clinton. In 2003, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
I want to shake your hand.
In one of his last public appearances, he demonstrated his unending belief in the power of public service, born years before with the Peace Corps.
So I recommend now that we should unleash the power of young people in all nations to see the world for what it is now and inspire them to join us in changing that world for the better.
Sargent Shriver was 95.
Being part of the Best Buddies team means living the passion and purpose inspired by our founder, Anthony Shriver. Whenever you attend an all-staff event or conference, you'll probably hear Anthony speak about staying connected to our mission, our work, and the impact we make every day. Anthony leads by doing. He doesn't expect perfection, but he does expect heart, hustle, and a commitment to excellence. Yes, we bring the energy. Yes, we love to have fun. But make no mistake, hitting our goals matters, because behind every milestone is a person, a story, a life changed. Throughout the year, you'll hear directly from Anthony through company-wide emails and videos filled with gratitude and motivation, and often a creative nudge to think bigger. Let's check a clip from one of those personal video messages he sent staff members.
We have so many things to be excited about and so much to be grateful for this time of year, but nothing makes me more happy and more proud to work side by side with our incredible staff. I mean, what a great team we have, and I know for sure, never forget it for 1 second, none of this would be happening if it wasn't for our great team. So I feel blessed to have the opportunity to work with each and every one of you. I feel super excited to expand our team next year. I'm really looking forward to all staff. I know it's a huge commitment, but it's one of the single most important things that we do as a team every single year. We invest so much money in executing on all staff. I expect and hope everybody will do everything within reason to get to all staff, celebrate, set goals. If we don't set goals, we don't lay out the roadmap, we have zero chance of crushing it in 2025. So we have to come together, we have to plan, we have to develop a plan and a strategy that's strong, energized, and well thought out in order to be successful, and all staff have the opportunity to do that. So thank you so much for everything you've done.
Now that you've gotten to know AKS, his incredible family, and the powerful legacy behind Best Buddies, we hope you're feeling inspired and ready to make your own impact. As a Best Buddies team member, you're not just part of an organization, you're part of a movement that's changing lives and championing inclusion every single day. Want to revisit any of this? Feel free to rewatch the video anytime. You can also head over to bestbuddies.org to explore more about our mission, programs, and how you can get involved in new and meaningful ways. And don't forget to check out our resource page for deeper dives into all the topics we've covered in this new hire series. You've got this, and we're so glad you're here.